I got a brand new set of questions for you, and I'm so excited to see what you get.
I always love the little dinosaur. Wait, do I just drop
Up
it
here.
in here?
Yep. All right. I see a 3. Oh, 3's fun. Wrap gifts. What is the most memorable wrap gift you've ever received or given?
Oh, received or given. We have come up with some really good wrap gifts for our crew on Yellowjackets. Last season we gave a deck of cards that said "fuck this cabin" on it. And then this season we gave, oh my God, what did we give? Oh wait, it was this season. Oh, lighters.
Oh.
Like old school, like silver ones that you fill up.
That's
And it
nice.
had antlers and season 3 on it.
Those are good gifts.
They
'cause they're
were,
also
we're really proud of them.
They're useful.
Yeah, because also no one wants like a wrap gift that, I mean, thankful for gifts, thankful
Yes,
for
of
gifts.
course.
But sometimes you're like, how do I use this? I have like
Yeah.
a box full of like memory ones that I'm like, I can't get rid of them, but I don't know how to use them.
That's my personal favorite type of stuff. If it's not useful or if it's not something that'll keep me warm, I want like a photo album or something.
Yeah, that's the best. Yellowjackets would do they should do like a yearbook and give it to us. That would be amazing. Maybe that can be our finish off
Yes,
when we're
full
done.
series when we get all 5 seasons that are planned.
Little babies.
It's like really incredible. I'm like itching to dig into it. You have 2 more rolls in the tower.
3 again.
3 again. All right, 8.
I thought that was 3.
Oh, this is fun. 3 threes are fine. It's the problem when people roll 3 6s. You can't do that. This one is just called Everyday Things. I love this question. What is a seemingly small everyday thing that human beings do that is the most difficult to replicate on screen as an actor?
Oh, sneezing.
That's always on my list.
Sneezing is hard. I haven't had to yawn. Sleeping kind of sucks.
Or waking up.
Yeah, it's sleeping and waking. There's like a shot of me this season where I'm like pretending to be asleep, and I was like, I can tell I'm pretending.
Tis in the
to be asleep.
finale.
Yeah, and I hate that.
Don't worry, I have no questions about that beat. It's what happens in the dream that I have many questions about.
Yeah, sleeping, sneezing, and waking up.
Okay, those are good ones. You got a 3
3 again.
3's my lucky number, so this is good vibes.
6 is my lucky number.
Ooh,
Really?
number 4. Oh, this is just inspiring films. Can you tell me a recent film you saw that, just inspires you or gives you hope for the future of Hollywood?
Oh, I just watched last night, oh my God, what's it called? Is it Happiest Day? Happy Day?
I can think of, Happy Face? Is that the show?
God, why can't I remember? I literally watched it
Happiest
last
Season.
night. I just watched also Beach Rats. That was really good. I love slice of life
Okay.
movies, so anything like Fly on the Wall-y, that gives me hope.
Okay, I'll take that. All I'm going to think about all day is movie titles that begin
I
with
know.
happy.
I will remember as soon as we finish.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to yet another Yellowjackets episode of Collider Ladies Night. Courtney Eaton returns to the show.
We're taking over your show at this point. Too many Yellowjackets.
People keep joking that I'm collecting you all infinity stones. And then we were just joking before we aired. What powers do I get when I've collected everyone?
Well, what powers does Lottie give you?
I was going to say, I connect to the wilderness or something.
There you go.
I'll
Okay.
have all the answers at the end of this week, actually.
Taking the positive ones.
I think by the end of now I'm going to jinx what's planned, but I think by the end of this week, literally every series regular will have been either on Collider Ladies Night or Forces.
Oh, amazing. Okay, yeah, because Sophie, my bestie Natalie, is in town.
I'm so excited.
Yay.
We've crossed paths for short conversations quite a few times,
you
but I've never
had-
had a lengthy chat with her.
She's the best.
So before I dig into Yellowjackets full force, on Ladies Night, we still do the roadmap type conversation. And there were a bunch of things that I noted down that either I want to follow up on and build on, or things that I completely missed. So first thing we have to go back to is Mad Max. So that was your very first screen credit. There is nothing typical about the way that movie was made. When you were on that set, what surprised you most about the reality of making a film?
I think it just fully changed my idea of what I thought acting was, because before that it was just acting at school where you did like zip, zop, zap, which is fun, but that's what I thought acting was. And like you had to get up and be the loudest in class. And I remember specifically the scene where I'm running back to the Immortan Joe and crying my eyes out. And I was like, this is great. I just get to like cry my eyes out and be emotional and like let it rip and everyone's fun. So I think that, yeah.
I don't really love the way that I phrase this particular question because I'm very much a film fan as far as it goes, like with art and not the business. Like I love to block out the business, but the sad truth is that's a big part of thriving in this industry. So the next question that I had to lean into the title that comes after this is when Mad Max comes out, you kind of want to like capitalize on the hype of a film like that. What specific goals did you set for yourself and how did what happened after either meet those goals or maybe morph them?
You know what? It's really interesting. I don't think I was a very like goal-driven person up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I was very like go with the flow and I have a problem making decisions and I like people kind of deciding not for me but like guiding me and being like so I feel like I had no idea what to expect. So I wasn't really aiming for anything other than to keep acting. And then I don't think I had like fully understood what acting and falling in love with it was yet, because then I didn't fall in love with acting properly until like maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, as we started the show. So yeah.
I get that. So the follow-up question would then be, were you guided towards Gods of Egypt?
Yes, a little. Yeah, a little. It made sense at the time. It was also Australian. But yes, I think so.
It's such a fascinating, like, 1-2 punch to me in terms of, like, big blockbuster filmmaking because there's such polar opposite experiences where everything on Mad Max was shot, or most things were shot practically, whereas Gods of Egypt is a heavy blue screen movie.
Oh, yes.
What was it like adjusting to that?
It was, I think, because I was still so new to acting and I was such a baby, really, in the world and in, like, what do you call it? Where you feel like you don't belong.
Fish out of water?
Yeah, something along those lines where I don't think I had the skills yet to enjoy that movie. Or like I did enjoy it, but to like be able to be on a green screen, look at a stick with a tennis ball on it and be like, oh, this is a Egyptian god that I'm talking to that's 5 feet taller than me. Now I feel like my brain would run rampant with ideas. But I think at the time, I don't even remember how old I was then too, but yeah, it was an interesting experience.
Do you remember the very first moment in your career when you realized the power of your imagination, when it was like you were doing something with something that wasn't there and you realized what a full vision you could create for yourself?
I think so. Well, I always talk about my my callback for Yellowjackets, and it's not that I really like recall what, it's the fact that I don't really remember what goes on. And I went in and did my callback and I came out and was like, I have no idea what I just did in there. But it was so fun and freeing because in the moment I just let loose, but afterwards I had no idea what I had done. So those times I'm always like, wow, I just also love human brains. Like they're interesting.
I mean, look at the seat I'm sitting in. I'm fascinated about that as it skews towards art, but just in general, I love learning about people. So after Mad Max and Gods of Egypt, then you kind of skew pretty heavily in the indie direction. And I guess I got a big old multi-part question about that. What drove you in that direction at the time, and what was it about indie filmmaking that maybe scratched an itch that you didn't realize you needed that much before?
Yeah, it's so interesting now because I very much lean into watching indie movies, wanting to be in them. And it's hard with the industry right now because a lot of money doesn't go towards them. But I think I just after Gods of Egypt, because it was so big and grand and not grounded in the way that I wanted it to be, I just flew the complete opposite, where it was like slice of life, small characters, like in me trying to remember my movie names. I can't remember.
I love Drake and Eddie, so the two that I wrote down right now were Newness and Perfect.
He's the best. Yeah, in Newness, it was so fun because I remember watching Leah Costa.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I can never remember how to...
I'm like flashing back to a TIFF movie I covered of hers. Now I can't even pull that title.
Yeah, she's incredible. And I remember just watching her and being like, oh, wow, that's the type of like acting I want to do, where I just like let it rip and have fun and be on... lose all self-consciousness and yeah.
So then after that comes a movie that I wasn't able to follow up on during our last conversation, but now I can, Parachute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That, my fragile heart watching that film, it was a lot.
Love Brittany Snow.
That movie is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it didn't get the attention and the love it deserved, because I was like busy looking up a bunch of reactions, like overwhelmingly positive.
Mm-hmm.
I just think she needs even more attention for how naturally gifted she is behind the lens.
I agree. Yeah. Just working with her, I was not hesitant, but scared to go into something like that because it's a topic that's close to my heart and that I've dealt with, and that can be scary as an actor sometimes, with not knowing where the line finishes between you and the character. Not that I'm of a method, but like, especially with mental health, you don't want to like dip your toe and be like, oh, I'm back in it. And the way that Brittany was able to look after me, look after herself while telling like a really smart story. There's a lot of stories about eating disorders that can tend to like either teach you how to have one that aren't positive or are more like horror porny with it.
I get it.
And she was just so, smart with it. And I can't wait to see what she directs next.
It's a very delicate touch on everything, which I appreciate. It gives it the slice of life feel where, you know, I feel the weight of that journey. So the specific question I had written down was, last time we spoke, you specifically said that movie, or making it at least, changed your brain chemistry. And I didn't follow up then, so I'm going to do it now. Can you elaborate on that a little more? What was it about the making of that movie that maybe changed how you viewed making movies, but also like your art?
I think it changed my brain chemistry in a way that it made me look at myself in a way that I hadn't before, in regards to just who I am as a person. Granted, I'm always dissecting myself and being like, what am I doing? Who am I? But I feel like I answered some of those questions while I was filming, and then that in turn kind of affected my acting in a way. I was reading a book recently, I can't remember the name of it, where I just know that like a lot of actors tend to think that you need to be mentally ruining yourself during scenes and doing this and that. But really, I think the strength and like the fun you get to have when you come in as a whole person, and you can bring more things to it. And so I think that movie taught me how to do that.
Oh, that's such a good skill to have. That's such a good like tool to have in your toolkit, because Handmaid's Tale is just starting out. I was just talking to Elizabeth Moss, and like the way I phrased a question, and actually I'll kind of pose this to you as well, because I was just talking to another actor recently who brought this up, and she basically pointed out that we're always talking about how you get into characters, but you never talk about how you get out of them, and sometimes that could be the hardest thing. Anyway, point being, I brought that up to Elizabeth Moss, and I think I phrased it like, that is such a heavy show. How do you get out of it? And she said, you know, just because it's a heavy show doesn't mean like there's not joy on set, and doesn't mean you're able to like not turn it on and off. So it just brought me right back to that.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I had a harder time being able to turn it off. And I also think I had this idea of like artists are like this, tormented, and we have to be sad and blah, blah. And yeah, kind of as I progressed, I think it's really important to have hobbies and things to do outside that will bring something to the job and project that you're working on, but that are very separate, that just kind of give you a space to breathe. And then also on set, it really comes down to like your crew and your cast. Like, our crew is hilarious. We have what do you call it? $5 Fridays, and like that brings lightness to the set.
$5 Fridays?
Uh-huh.
What is that?
So everyone on set can bring $5 and you get a certain amount of tickets and you write people's names on it. And then whoever's name gets pulled from the bucket wins the pot of money. And then there's also like Employee of the Week where like someone who was last selected as someone will pass on. Like so catering, Mike, our catering would do someone in costume, and it was really sweet.
I love little things like that. I'm a big believer in filmmaking families, and I feel like those ideas just like help bolster one. Wait, you also brought up hobbies. What is a hobby that you like to lean on in order to, you know, turn off work and turn on maybe yourself in that kind of manner?
I think now I've recently fallen into, like, I'm a bit of a gym rat now.
Ooh.
So physicality and getting me going. And then I really like pottery because it makes me, I have to concentrate on what I'm doing and my brain can't keep going.
That's like quite the pairing there. I like that. It feels like a really nice balance.
It is, yeah. I like to be brain tired and physically tired.
I'm definitely gym. Like I like my bike a lot right now. That's my new favorite thing. And then I'm obsessed with all of those New York Times games.
I'm also obsessed
Wordle,
with those.
Crossword.
Do you have leaderboards with your friends?
So the thing that I do
is
is with my mom. My mom and we swap Wordles every single day, and she has like an updating note that we're both shared on, and she has kept score. We're up to like I looked at it the other day. I think we're up to like 500 rounds.
That's
like
kind of amazing.
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
We're a little intense about it.
We're a little intense. You got to print it out and make it a book. And
really, I kind of should.
I think you do.
It's one of my favorite things every morning. Every morning. All right, digging into Yellowjackets. This is another thing that I really wanted to follow up on that you brought up last time. You were mentioning that at the very beginning of the show, when you got the opportunity to join it, it was as a series regular, but you made the choice that for yourself, the best path forward was to not do that and to be, I want to say the right term, recurring? What is it at that point? Not guest. Recurring?
I think recurring.
Recurring.
I'm in TV and I don't even know.
With all the interviews I do, I feel like I should have that terminology
I don't even know.
But when you made that decision, I guess can you kind of walk us through that thought process and also maybe what it was like putting yourself over something that someone else might assume would be the smarter career move, if that makes sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think the way that I came up in the industry after Mad Max, had kind of been taught. It was in the time when TV was smaller and the goal was to do films and big films. And so I hadn't really auditioned for TV. I hadn't ever gotten far enough on a TV job that audition to really think about like signing your life kind of away. And that sounds like dramatic, but on some shows you really do sign your life away for who knows how long. It could be 5 years, but then they want to add on more seasons. And granted, there's all the renegotiations and this and that when you leave. But I think I kind of went into it a little scared of being attached to something for so long and not knowing where a character would go and what would happen if I was on season 4 feeling like I could bring nothing to the character. And I know that sometimes that happens. So I think I did it slightly out of fear. And I'm really, really, really grateful to our show creators for letting me make that decision and not being like, well, there's someone else that wanted to be a series regular. Bye. We'll take them. But I was really thankful. And then as the season went on, and I knew that, because of the series regular, that she was going to come back. I just was hoping that they would allow me.
I didn't like my wording before. I think I called it a smarter decision. I should have said obvious because I think it's really impressive that you were able to like put yourself and your concerns first in that kind of situation because I feel like more often than not, it's challenging to do that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times when it comes down to contracts and this and that, it's a whole world that I don't really understand, and I'll have, a lot of people talk about like our lawyers talking to us. We're on the phone with like 5 people telling us what choices we can make, and it can be really intimidating and too much. And I was really thankful that my manager also agreed with me and fought for me for that, and and that the creators let me do it.
I'm going to veer off the Yellowjackets path for a quick second to ask this question because I think it's important, and I haven't been asking it as much as I used to. When you first started in this industry, what's a seemingly silly question about what it takes to make a movie and show that I guess you wish you had the courage to ask sooner, whether it was something about the way things work on set or even the behind-the-scenes type stuff like this?
It's literally a joke between me and my manager that there's no dumb questions because
You have a good manager.
I have a great manager, Callie. Yeah, because I was so scared for a while to ask her the simplest questions of like, even like emails coming in that being like, we have enclosed as this. I'm like, did they send it to us or did we go out to them? And like little things like that. I just had
stuff to be asking.
No idea how anything in the industry worked. And so I literally question everything now because she lets me.
I like that. I feel like that's like a perfect person to have in your corner because I feel like even once you feel like you have found your footing in this business, like something's changing and evolving and there's a whole new set of questions that comes barreling in. So.
Yeah, and you need to feel confident with the people that you can ask questions.
It's so true. So true. Now you're not going to feel comfortable with these questions because I've got many. So I want to start with Simone in particular. And this is a question that I asked Liv the other week. And I'm kind of curious to hear how your answer might be similar or differ. So in season 2, you do all your work and maybe you saw Simone on set, but like when you're doing season 3, I assume you had watched her entire season 2 perform. And so it was making me wonder, did anything she did in that season kind of, I don't know, seep into your brain and weigh on your mind more so than you might have thought while making season 3?
Ooh, interesting question. I don't know if this is the right answer.
There's
but I have
no right answers in this situation. No, there's no right answers. There's no wrong answers.
I have a really hard time watching anything that I'm in, like a lot of actors. And so I feel like I love our show and the bits that I do see I love, but usually I'll just watch bits and pieces here and there to remind me what I need to do to talk about.
I get it.
Because then I just get too nitpicky and be like, oh, she did this and I didn't do that. But I was in season 3 on set with Simone by the last couple of episodes. And yeah, she's magic. She's so I just want to be her when I grow up.
I get that. Friggin' pickleball star.
I know.
Like, where did that come from? I love it.
I'm a machine.
I also feel like the theme of this episode of Ladies' Night should be that there are no right answers. There's no wrong answers.
Perfect.
There's just Lottie answers.
There's just Lottie answers.
So something about that just feels right.
The Lottie dictionary.
So this was another thing that Liv had mentioned. I don't know if you have the exact same experience working with Simone, but is there a particular moment in season 3 when you could feel your Lottie becoming Simone's Lottie?
In season 3. Oh, yes. I felt the merge happen. And maybe it was just because I was on set. We were in tandem right next to each other. So I'd just go over and be like, hey, I'm here. But there was a thread of seeing like 90s wilderness Lottie in the finale that I was like, oh, sad. She's still just like the same at the core. Yeah.
She always feels somewhat the same. I'm not going to do this next question that leans into that yet. I want to stick with Simone a little longer because like we obviously have to address the elephant in the room. Well, I guess what was it like finding out that present day Lottie would not make it through season 3 of this show?
It's so weird. I've tried to talk about it a bunch in press this year, but like I feel like my brain hasn't clicked yet that she's not. And also in the Yellowjackets world, I feel like anyone can come haunt you, anything can happen. And also I was in an interview where someone was like, "Why wasn't she on the plane?" And I was like,
"Well,
yeah, but she's the only one, so maybe she."
It's her and Travis. Why didn't they get plane
exactly?
scenes?
So like, is that like foreshadowing something? So in my mind, Simone's coming back, but yeah, it's hard because I feel like I'm stuck in this middle ground of not having anyone in the first season, and then getting to share a character in the second season and then getting that taken away again in the third season, that it's a fun task because it keeps me on my toes. But I also love Simone, and I think she did an incredible job. And no one likes seeing anyone go. Like, too many death parties.
You had a lot of death parties. I feel like I mostly saw the death party footage on like TikTok for Steven. Like, wait, now that we can talk about like we could talk about the entire season. Everyone knows this is going to have spoilers through the season 3 finale. I guess, can you maybe pinpoint like a defining factor of each death party you had this season?
Steven's was funny. It's hard because as the season goes on, it becomes more hectic while we're filming, so it's harder to throw death parties. So I don't think we got a chance to throw Alexa one, which sucks because she's pit girl, and we could have done a killer job with that.
What a way to go out.
I know. Everyone was for a while being like, no, I don't want to be a pit girl. And then I'm like, it's the best way to go out. It's iconic.
I've been describing it as a badge of honor.
It is.
That's a big deal. I also think that is one of the things in this show that just came full circle in a really, really well-constructed way.
I think so, too. Yeah, even, like, the details of how she takes her clothes off and, like, puts her shoes. And, yeah, she did an amazing job.
I have so many questions about that. So many questions.
But Stevens, I remember the last day that he was filming, Sophie and I didn't realize it was his last day, and she was on set and I wasn't working that day. And she called me bawling her eyes out. And then I was like, wow, what's wrong? And she was like, it's Steven's last day. And so we were both just on the phone being like, wait, I thought I was going to be there. Steven's like a big brother to us and has been, like, we've known him for 5 years now. And he's really close with the show creators, and yeah, it's really sad. But we, like, wrote little eulogies, and yeah.
He's something else, too. He is another one that just, like,
break my heart.
Like, performance-wise, like, really made, like, the most and then some with the material he was given to close the book on that character.
Truly, I watched that little scene where Natalie... I guess. And I text him, Sophie and I have a group chat with him called Patats because we call each other Potato.
Wait, why?
I think it started with Ella because we were doing a road trip, the 4 of us, and she was eating potato chips and she started crying and we were like, potato. And so it's just stuck and we all call each other Potato.
Never hear the word potato the same way
I know,
again,
true, but everyone always looks at us being like, potato? What the hell? But I text him after watching that little snippet and I was like, just rude of you, honestly, to be that good and to make me cry. Like when he just like nuzzles up and he's like, please.
Yeah.
Like it makes me want to cry now.
I like 100% understand. And like just because we were busy blabbing about like Sophie in particular with last season, like that's another performance where I'm like,
yeah.
Like Emmys, like can we look at the right beats?
I know.
I know your show has gotten some love, but I think you're well aware of the fact that I believe that Yellowjackets should be getting even more award season love than it is.
We're up against some big contenders. Big contenders.
It's a
little soccer high school team.
a crowded field, but you know, as someone who is constantly championing genre storytelling, I want to see this rise to the top.
Hell yeah.
I think it deserves it. All right, so this is the question that I wanted to come back to. And it's a question that I asked you during our last conversation, and honestly, I don't think the answer. No, I did my homework.
I don't remember what I said.
Like truly, there are certain things that all of you have said that have kind of like burrowed their way into my brain, and like there's something. I'm just thinking about Liv because they were just on
Liv
Collider
is so
Forces.
And so, like it's ridiculous.
There's something about the way that they describe things where like I know I felt that while watching it, but hearing them put it into words like that makes it even more powerful.
I know. I want like a Liv dictionary. Because just the way they break things down, you're like, come again?
The level of thought is
wild.
Well, the wild thing, too, in terms of talking to you right after them, is I think Van and Lottie are in two completely different types of situations and mind frames where, like, nothing will apply in the same way. So this particular question, I'm curious. So last time we spoke, I asked you if you had an anchor for Lottie because she makes a lot of like big swing decisions. And in particular this season, there's a couple of moments where just like out of the blue, she makes a game-changing decision for the group and herself. do you have an anchor that you're leaning on, something that bases all of those choices, no matter how wild, in some sort of consistent truth?
I do. I don't know if this is one of those annoying Lottie answers. I do. There's a part of it that is anchored. I don't know if this is like a weird way to say it, but very much in who I am. Lottie and I are very similar in like trying to figure out who we are, if we're good people, and if what's not in a sad way. I feel like I did this the last time where I'm like, not sad. My heart. But I feel like that really anchors me, that I know if I got put in similar situations, I'm not saying that I would put an axe in people's head or start a cult, but I think mentally I would be in the same boat of like not knowing where I am. So I always kind of anchor it. I don't know. I feel like we just talk to each other. I can feel it in my chest, the way we like talk to each other.
I wrote down what you said last time, and you heavily leaned on like a personal intuition and just knowing. Mm-hmm. And I can see that. I can see that, and I could feel it. And
that's hard to explain.
It's hard. I mean, I think in general, this character, or like anything when it comes to being an actor, this is probably why I love sitting in the seat so much. I feel like that particular craft is just so hard to like articulate how to do it and your intentions, which is why like this space fascinates me.
Yeah, it is really interesting. The more you think about it, being like, how do you describe your choice in this and acting? Sometimes it just hits me and I'm like, oh, this is the right thing to do. But I don't know how to explain that. Maybe Liv would. Maybe I need to talk to Liv and they could like transcribe my thoughts into like really eloquent
I'm sure they could. Can you give me an example of both of these things in season 3? Maybe a time when like intuitively you just knew it. Material came your way and you had it right from the onset. But then another example where like maybe you had to sit with it and figure it out a little more before you found what was right.
Yeah, I was how do I do that? I was having an interesting I was going through something in season 3 that was similar, in the similar vein to Lottie, that in one of my speeches, even Sophie came up to me after and she was like, that was amazing. And I was just kind of thinking, she's like, yeah, I could tell. And we're also like so close and she knows like everything about me. And she knew I was having a hard time, and that one just made sense. I knew where she was speaking from. And then a place that I've always had difficulty with Lottie is her when she needs to step up into a leadership role. I'm not good at making decisions. I don't like being responsible for other people because I'm like, even if I have to, I've recently had to organize a road trip, and that type of pressure to me of making sure that everyone is having fun and it's good, and that I take it to that level of not being like, oh yeah, I organize this if you want to. I'm like, are you having fun? Is it good? So I feel like anytime that Lottie needs to step up and direct the group, she has a difficult time.
I have the exact same problem. Like, as you said that, I'm like thinking about like the birthday thing I'm trying to plan for a friend on Saturday night. I'm like, I'm going to pick the wrong place. It's going to be the wrong time.
Absolutely.
Like, are we going to have the right amount of time?
Are the friends going to meld? Like, yeah, truly.
All I've been thinking about. But funny you bring up the lead. I swear this is the next question on my list is, I guess towards the end of season 3, how does Lottie feel about herself as a leader? Does she have confidence, and does she have confidence in her ability to lead others and have confidence in what she's essentially preaching to others?
I think she has faith in herself that what she's preaching is 100%, and she's falling into stuff. I don't think she's 100% comfortable with leading people yet. I think that's going to come later down the line, maybe once they get rescued or something. I don't know. That makes it seem like I know anything about once I get rescued. But I feel like that is going to take a while. I think she's definitely stepped into herself more and has stopped fighting the version of her that she's found out in the wilderness and the version that she's supposed to be at home. And I think that gives her a lot of confidence.
That's where, like, I'm so excited to see the threads connect more with the leadership element, just in terms of, like, you know, Simone's Lottie essentially having, like, her whole wellness community, and when we see your Lottie kind of firmly take hold of what the qualities one needs in order to put together a community like that.
And I think there's like sprinkles of it this season in a weird way where Lottie is almost chasing the wilderness in like an addict way is the kind of the way I looked at it. And so when she's looking at Shauna and she's seeing the wilderness or anger reflected in her, she kind of chases after it. And I think they might have, I'm putting it out there just because I also love Sophie and Elise and I want us best friends to work together every day, that maybe she set something off in Lottie that gives her a strength. Because Shauna is strong as hell.
It would make all the sense in the world given how Shauna has progressed this. She scares me.
She's scary.
The intensity is just absolutely through the roof. And like one of the first times I spoke to Sophie about it at Sundance, I had seen the first 4 episodes and she's like get ready for it. It's going to be intense. And I knew from the first 4 episodes, but like I didn't know.
No.
I didn't know.
I don't think any of us knew.
I think one of the most memorable scenes of the entire season for me, like the one that just like I love how it's like you put an axe in someone's head. I'm like, this upset me the most. It's when she has the fight with Jenna, when Shauna goes at it with Melissa. There's something about that dialogue and Melissa saying, like, why can't you just be a nice person that, like it shattered my heart.
Yeah, or even when she's just so you can see her walls slightly coming down when Coach is like, you know what? I did mess up. I was a coward, this and that. And you see it slightly affecting her. And then she just switches like, no, I'm going to kill you.
She can flip that switch.
And that one broke me. We were like crying on set to Steven. And she was just like, no.
She's, yet again,
I know.
Something else. All right. I'm going to start to hit like a little bit of a roadmap here. I have many, many specifics. So first, I'm going to kick off with the end of episode 6, which is when the scientists arrive. So first with that, actually before they even walk to camp, one thing I'm really curious about is, you know, they're eating Ben, and then Lottie says something doesn't feel right. What do you need to know in order to play a moment like that? How do you need to decide not feeling right feels like?
In my brain, I can see the moments that have been leading up to why she feels that way and like thinking that he's a bridge and they've messed up her pathway to connecting with the wilderness again. And I think that is it. But really, he is still a bridge because if they hadn't been cooking him, they wouldn't have smelt him.
Out of context, these conversations.
They wouldn't have come. So, yeah, I think she didn't think it was going how she thought it was planned out, but it was.
Oh, it makes so much sense. I mean, it just ties right into the, like, is it just, like, bad human behavior or is it supernatural?
Yeah, truly.
Everything is always stacked up on each other. So right after that, they arrive. This is a very specific line delivery question, but I love these kinds of things. She just like immediately like shouts a guttural no. Mm-hmm. What was it like finding the right way to shout no? Or was it one of those instances where they ask you for multiple versions and then it's chosen in the final edit?
No, we just did whatever came out of my mouth. I scream a lot in this show.
You do? I think I have a couple of other questions about screaming lines.
But that one was easy because in my mind, she just heard the wilderness again for the first time in the season by kind of the frogs also, or hearing the wilderness. And so just as she's getting a taste of that, someone's coming back and ruining it. And also the fear of going home, as we see later in the season, in a sad little moment.
Yeah, I got a big question about a particular line that comes up later. Before I get to that, so now this teeters into episode 7. I have to ask you about like the actual axe murder of it all, because like that's a big deal. They've done terrible things, but she literally like just takes someone's life in cold blood.
Murder.
When you read that, does something like that sit right with you, or is that a story beat that you kind of have to process in order to fully understand why she would go to those lengths?
It's weird. It makes sense to me, and I don't know why.
It needs to make sense to you more.
It has to make sense to me, and that's why I like a fight over. I'm like, she's not a bad person. This and this, because everything. Yeah, it makes sense of where she's at. They've just had another trauma where they've just killed Ben. They've just eaten him again. So, like, regardless of whether the wilderness is a thing, they just tapped into something to throw on top of being messed up again. That it's understandable that something could just slip and a wire could go a little askew, or that she is trying to protect her friends and this family that she has from intruders.
It's another thing that you brought up last time, that it's like kind of like colored my whole experience watching your performance, is the fact that no matter what she does, even if it's something bad like axe murder, like she's always doing it with good intentions, with wanting to improve her situation and her friend's situation.
Yeah, even with like pushing Travis too far, I think it can be seen as she's using him, one, and I think that is partly it, that she's trying to connect with the wilderness and pushing him too far. But then she knows that the best version of herself is once she's connected, and that can help the group. So that's my out answer for everything.
What do you think her biggest regret is? Like, is there anything, any decision she made that ultimately she would be like, no, that was wrong and I wish I hadn't done that?
I think the Harvey thing haunts her a lot. Yeah. But also Misty took her words out of context.
It wasn't entirely her fault, and also it connects to Travis, and like I know she is using him to an extent, but you have that line, I think it's in episode 9, where she said, like, I just wanted you to see that, like, he's still here. And it's a beautiful line. All right.
Bobby.
Here's another question that kind of builds on some of this. How much do you think Lottie cares about what other people think about her?
Interesting. I think it's a mix. I think she's deeply, like, ashamed of what she thinks of herself. And I think she tends to think that maybe others secretly think that about her. But then there's also the pre-crash Lottie that was just a bit more spicier, that would be like, could give it back a little. So I think she dances in between. But I think she knows that everyone thinks she's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of moments where other characters are basically like, I mean, in particular,
literally
Travis and Akila, where they're just like, look what you did to us. It's you ruined
insane.
everything.
Yeah.
Before I move past episode 7, one other question that I just jotted down. Why do you think the wilderness wants her to smear the scientist's blood all over and like sit over his body and mutter like that?
Well, that was an interesting one, because when I read this script, I was like, ooh, this could go very two ways. And I wanted it to more be like a prayer instead of crazy, like, I need his blood on me. And I think it was more of like a meld of the wilderness gave him to me. We're all becoming like one. So
I could see it. I could see it because I also re-listened to the audio. Like at first, I was like, you know, like what am I hearing? And then when I listened to it again, it was, these are such twisted conversations to have. But there's something about the words that you're saying that feels like there's some sort of like respect she's trying to give, like to pay to the life that she took.
Yeah, we did some ad-libs in ADR of just like running through different things to say. And it was so funny on set that day. We were normally like doing the stunt, swapping Nelson out for like the dummy body, but one take we couldn't. So I just had to be creepy, whisper and touch Nelson. And at the end I was like, I'm so sorry. So sorry.
I feel like
they were just like, say whatever you want. And I was like, into this man's ear.
I mean, some sort of like acting bucket list item ticked. Yeah. I don't know. Again, the beauty of genre.
Sign me up. Yeah, I love that stuff.
The endless creative possibilities with a show like this. All right, so now we have ventured into episode 8. It's the moment where she essentially decides, like, I am going to stay. Oh, actually, this is where I wanted to come back to a specific line. We were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, but when Natalie is like, basically like, what the fuck, why are you doing this? She goes into that whole speech where she explains that if we leave, I won't be well. At that point in time, what does being well mean to her?
At that moment in time, she knows that she is just going to go back to where her to how her parents looked at her, and probably into an institution, probably on medication again, probably just like numbed out and not getting to be her like full self. And I think that's part of it, whether she's seen what actually, and that she does go back there. I think she has an inkling that, yeah, no one's looking out for her. She won't have anyone looking out for her.
If Ty and Shauna hadn't dropped their bags and opted to stay, do you think that she would have stayed herself in order to retain those feelings?
I think she would have stayed, and then I think she would have freaked out a little. And then, yeah, I think she would have let them go, and then it just would have been like a spiral downhill of being like, wait, I should have gone.
Reality would have set in.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right, now we're going into episode 9. I'm like fascinated by this Travis conversation she has. I've watched that scene more times than I can count. Before I get into like obnoxiously specific questions, just more broadly, I guess, what was it like working on that scene with Kevin? What kind of conversations did the two of you have maybe before in order to, I don't know, set some goals for yourself in terms of what you wanted to accomplish with that particular scene?
I'm trying to think back on that scene. There was a couple of versions of that scene, and a few lines that got cut by the end, and I think by Lottie. But I think we definitely did a dance that day of trying to find where it sat, especially with Kevin coming to realize that Travis is trying to kill Lottie, that Lottie has an inkling but is trying to get to him. And then there's this like, you're pathetic. You tried to kill me. I don't know. It's got a lot of layers going on to it. That each take was very different when we shot it that day.
Just so we can get a sense of how things can evolve throughout this process, can you maybe give us an example of, an element of that scene or a particular take that was like here, and then then we can compare it to wherever you all landed?
Yeah, there was there was a version where I walk out, and I don't know if in the one that landed, if he says no. He doesn't, does he? He lets me walk out.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. There was a version where he...
changed everything.
Yeah. There's a version where he grabs me and says no. And then I realize that I'm standing on it, and then I keep walking, and it doesn't go down. And then I look at him in like a kind of soft way and be like, it's okay. And then there was another version where he says no again and comes out, and I turn around and I am kind of like, wow, what a joke, and then just walk off and leave him there. So there was a couple of versions of that, because it was so. I remember all the different points we were trying to talk about in this scene that we had to kind of cover everything, but yeah,
it's so fascinating.
I know
that like completely like all those options like pave a path forward that are totally different for their dynamic.
Yeah, 100%.
So in the actual version that we see in the finished episode, this is another thing that I've seen people debate online. When she walks towards the pit, is she stepping on the edge, or is she literally like walking across it like a god?
She walked across it. I walked to the middle of it. And whether that is because the wilderness is looking after her, or because he set it up wrong after he threw the rock. Like, you don't know.
Wrong.
That's the thing with this show. It could be one or the other, and you never know.
Do you lean one way or the other? Like, what is as a fan of the show that you're also working on, do you pick one side or the other?
I do lean one way, but there are moments that I'm like, I can't 100% lean this way. So I feel like out of all the actors, I'm probably the one that's in the middle the most.
Okay.
Because I feel like I have to be. If I'm not with Lottie, then I'd have to fight a lot of scenes and be like, this doesn't make sense.
When I have conversations about this show with my friends, at the very beginning, I was always like, watch. It's just going to come back to the idea that it was all, like human error and greed and bad decisions. It's all going to be that. Nothing supernatural. And sometimes I watch certain things in the show and I'm like, am I just being stubborn about that at this point?
I have no idea. But that's the thing about the show is that the scariest version probably is if it was just all in their head. And like my favorite, one of my favorite scenes when we're dancing around the fire pit after we've eaten Ben, and this song kind of starts and we all think we're harmonizing, and then it cuts back
and
we're like, and you just see kids and you're like, is this the world that they're seeing? Or are we going to see another version where like they're in scrap clothes and covered in blood and dirt and like actually all lost their minds? And that's scary.
That's such an effective sound beat. And then also with this scene between Lottie and Travis, I think it was one of the very first times that I was like so incredibly aware of how clear the frog sounded. Like in the background of that, you just like, it's frogs. Like that's it. It's frogs. I found that to be such like a great layer to that.
When we read that, we were all like, what? Yep.
Things always come back
smart.
to things that make sense. So again, back to that Travis scene, as it is in the finished show, how do you think Lottie is feeling about him having known that he just nearly took her life?
I think she had an inkling from the beginning when he points her in the direction of Aquila, that he's lying to her and playing with her. And I think even as you see her, as he's like, I felt something out in the woods, will you come? And she's like, yeah, I will. Like, I know you're bullshitting me, but.
All right. These next two questions that like I can tack onto that. It's like fan theory stuff. I don't know. I don't really believe this one is true, but I did read it somewhere. So I figured I'd pose it to you because it ties to the fact that he almost took her life. Do you think present day Lottie actually deliberately killed present day Travis?
Ooh. That one's hard. I don't know because we don't get to see much of adult Travis and their dynamic. I don't know. I really don't know with that one. Because also the amount of time that's passed, she was also in a institution for a while. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
I feel like nothing about what she's done in the show that we've seen on screen thus far would signal that she. I was about to say,
but then I was like,
that she would deliberately take a life. We were just talking about her putting an axe.
I know, but then my brain just went down like a whole theory of like, what if she killed Travis to start like the wilderness again, and then that bring all the group back, and like, what if she's just.
Yeah. Now I'm not gonna stop thinking about that.
I know.
Here, I'll just go from one big theory question to another that I might believe, and this ties into the very beginning of episode 10. Do you think Lottie burned down the cabin?
I don't know.
I think she did.
I don't
think she did.
I don't know how much I should talk on this because I mean, there's nothing like tied to Lottie 100% doing it, but the way that I didn't put it past her that she could do that. And especially when we leave season 3 and there was a weird moment where I just like had the choice where something hit me and I was like, I should just laugh. Like, this is just funny that the house is burning down. And a lot of people zoomed in on that.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, she broke, or this girl's just crazy. And I think that ties me a lot to that, that maybe I burned the cabin down. But I don't know. It could, I don't know.
The top priority, potential cabin burners seem to be either you or other Ty. The reason why I bring it up as it pertains to Lottie, though, is because episode 10, we've got like a bit of an opening dream sequence, and there's a moment where there's like quick cuts to
the cabin goes over on fire.
Yeah. And I'm thinking like that image says a lot to me, and it points me in one very.
I saw it in ADR,
direction.
and I was like, oh.
I had to pause on it a million when we get our advanced screeners. It's not like when you're watching it, let's say on Paramount Plus, and you could pause. Like it goes to like the episode label.
Yes.
I'm busy trying to to figure it out. And finally, it processed what I had just seen. And then even young Lottie with the antlers behind her.
I know.
It's interesting.
I know. There's a lot going on in the pilot. I mean, in the finale.
Yeah. So much going on. So I'll start touching on that dream sequence now. Dream sequences fascinate me. You know this. We talked about this a lot with the end of season 2 as well. When you read that dream sequence, what big burning questions do you have for the showrunners in terms of how to play it? Like, does Lottie feel safe in a situation like that? Is she excited for what she's about to see around the corner?
I remember because Bart directed that, and I remember I think it was my last day on filming, and I remember being in the cave set, and we were just doing different variations of screams because each time I would do one, something would kind of wiggle out that would be like, oh, it's leaning more sad or she's angry and this and that. So we had like a plethora of screams to pick from, but it's hard. I think I've learned with this show because I had some questions about Aquila and that in the thing. And we were like, what you got to tell us? And they're like, I can't tell you anything.
Just for fun, who is the most likely to spill answers? Like when you really need something answered, who do you beeline to? Who will have them actually reveal them?
I can't say, or they'll never tell me again. Everyone, I mean, on sets, it's usually the same people that you can get tidbits from. But with Yellowjackets, literally everyone on set is trying to get answers for everything. So someone will get tidbit here, tidbit there, and then you can make a whole full picture.
Who's the most likely to piece everything together? Like when you want to go to someone who you think will figure it out soonest, who is that person?
I think it's weirdly all of us will sit in the green room being like, well, I heard this, and this. Oh, what happens if that happened? Yeah, because everyone has very good, different takes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Team effort.
Team
I like
effort.
that.
Team effort.
Like all of this show, in a sense.
Yeah.
Wait, back to that scream, because I did write down that in the end, for me at least, feels angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that so interesting in that sequence because when she's walking through that space initially, I looked at your expression. I'm like she's at peace there. And then all of a sudden the scream is angry. Why do you think that was the right emotion for that beat ultimately?
I think there's just a level of frustration either with herself or with the wilderness or where she's at and what is about to happen that she's just letting everything that she's pushed down kind of rip. And that's kind of where I came at it from, that it's just this deep guttural, I need to get this out and it's going to be at you because I can't do it at anyone else.
I want her to find peace.
Same.
I just want Lottie. I was thinking about that. Also, it was Sophie's character, and it was a dream sequence, and it's so sad because ultimately it becomes a bad thing. But I didn't realize that I hadn't seen Shauna smile in so long. It's when she's laying in the water and in a dream state sees her son.
Yeah.
I'm like,
even that sentence makes me want to cry. The fact that you haven't seen Shauna smile in a while, unless it's a
devious one?
Yeah,
I'm going to ruin your life on a smile?
That doesn't count.
I've seen a lot of those smiles. Yeah. So the next bit here is working with Simone.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down a whole bunch of you're not going to be able to answer any of this. But your conversation was did I miss it? Do you remember what we promised? It's time to meet her.
Oh, yes.
What is it? What did you promise? Who are you going to meet?
I know. Well, even because that ties to when I'm in the cave, when Aquila walks in and I am making a promise to someone until my last breath. Who? I don't know. About what? I don't know. I asked. That one specifically. Normally I'm okay with not really knowing with Lottie because sometimes not having all the information actually works in my favor. But with that one, I was like, what am I promising? What is going ahead? Because especially I knew that scene was coming up. And yeah, that's a Lottie answer.
So many questions. So here's one that you might be, actually, I'll go here first because I feel like this is what comes, or this is what is revealed next. What was your reaction when you found out that of all people on this show, it was Callie who killed your character?
I had an inkling. But I'm also one of those like annoying people that guess along the way, which is why I love The Scientist so much, because I was like, I did not see that coming. But especially this season, as we see kind of something rumbling in Callie and their connection, and just Lottie sticking her nose in where she just let it be, or trying to help people where she just let them do it. Yeah, I had a feeling that it was gonna be her, and that it had to be in some like traumatizing way for Callie. Like, I couldn't imagine it being like intentional on Callie's part, but that has to like set off a chain of events probably for Callie that leads her down the Lottie path.
Yeah, it's interesting watching like Sarah's facial expressions change as Lottie says certain things to her, and you could totally see that comments about her relationship with her mother is what pushes her over the edge. But then I've got so many questions about what Simone says to her about like you're the child. I mean, not literally the child, like 25 years.
But that was promise. Like, did someone tell you about the child when you were making a promise to your last dying breath?
I am absolutely endlessly obsessed with thinking about all of this over and over. So now we get to the hunt. Here's another line delivery I really wanted to ask you about. You say, we got too arrogant. It's unhappy with us. We have to prove our faithfulness. It wants blood. And then you pitch having another hunt. What was it like finding the right level of confidence to deliver that line with?
That's in the animal pen?
It's after the animal pen. They're all
yes.
They're
when
all
we're
like
in the
standing
circle.
in a, I guess like maybe even confidence might not be the right word, but confidence and authority.
Yeah, there is an authority that kind of sets in on her in the finale. I don't. I'm such an annoying guest. I really don't. No, I think that was also another moment that intuitively it just was like, this is happening. I'm doing it. And it came out how it came out.
There's nothing annoying about this
It is
at all.
annoying.
No,
I can see everyone being like,
because it makes sense. It's why Lottie raises some of like the biggest questions compared to any other character. And it's what I mean, if this show and like your performances didn't raise those kind of questions, like
this is true.
I wouldn't be watching it anymore.
The discourse is good.
Oh my God, I love the discourse. I love the Reddit threads. I love the theories. I could do it all day long. Here's another big moment that I have to ask about before we wind this down. So during the hunt, Lottie bumps into Mari and says, you've been here before, Mari, and you can let it be different. Is she deliberately trying to tip Mari off to give herself like a fighting chance?
I don't know. Yeah, it was. I think she was trying to give her a fighting chance, but I think she's almost doing it in a riddle way. Well, obviously in a riddle way.
Such a Lottie way to do it.
But yeah, she's not going to give it all up because she doesn't want to make the wilderness mad. But I think she is trying to give one of her teammates like a fighting chance.
That makes it
Hopefully.
even sadder.
I know. That's the thing with Lottie. Everything is like deeply sad.
And it's like seeing moments like that try to like slip through the cracks.
Yeah, like she's trying to play both sides.
Here's something that I will tee up is like a legitimate theory question. I wish that I had a moment to get a close-up on you when it is revealed that Natalie is gone and Shauna screams. When that happens, what do you think Lottie's expression would have been?
I think it's a mix of like euphoric, but also freaking out. Like I think she would jump real quick because her and Natalie have this connection that I don't know how to explain between them that is similar to how Lottie has a connection with Shauna and the baby and that time period of her life. But I think she would know that it's good for Natalie and would be excited for her, but then the flip side of being like, but that means I have to sacrifice not being well.
How does Lottie find peace?
She does not.
What does she need?
Maybe
I know.
she will.
She
I know.
I need her to just like have a little. It's just incredible watching a show like this and getting so attached to the characters and wanting them to like walk off into the sunset and live happily ever after, but knowing that that's not interesting.
I know. Everyone's like, we want that, but we don't want to watch it.
So this is the official last question of Collider Ladies Night now. I don't think it was when you were last on because I was re-listening to that and I said it at a weird moment and I said it like it was something a little more fresh, but now it's become like the official way to end every conversation. So in film and television, we give each other awards. Super cool. We should keep doing that. I find that nobody in this business tells themselves, like, to their core, like, you did a good job nearly enough. I want to know something you did making season 3 of this show that you know you'll always be able to look back on and say, really proud of what I did there.
That's funny because I am extremely proud of season 3. And I think I'm extremely proud that I showed up while having a really hard time and I put in the work, and I'm really proud of my work this season. And that is like not anything that would ever normally come out of my mouth. But I think that shows that I put in the work on myself and work-wise.
It's a beautiful answer. You should be so proud.
Thanks.
I need more. I need more so badly. I'm going to say.
Just send an email, send a text.
I've got like a mile-long list of questions.
I can't even imagine.
I'm going to say congratulations on everything you've accomplished on season 3 of Yellowjackets, everything coming your way in the future. You know this. This door is open anytime you want.
Thank you. Thanks so much.